Well. It's been a while, Slurpheads, and I'm sorry about that. I've been watching the FNAF movie on repeat. Well, mainly just the Chica scenes. But enough about that movie because that's old news, right? Let's look to the future of the Five Nights at Freddy's cinematic universe. Of course, I'm talking about FNAF Movie 2. And oh boy, after the box office success of FNAF, I'm expecting Blumhouse to loosen their purse strings for the sequel, which means we can expect way more animatronic escapades in the next outing. And that's kind of the point of today's list, because I'm Connor from Slurp, and these are 5 animatronics that need to appear in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Number 5. Springtrap. Alright, so if you've been following my coverage of the FNAF movie before its release, you would know I was pretty convinced we'd get a post-credit scene teasing the awakening of Springtrap. Well, we didn't quite get the full Springtrap experience, but that won't stop me from beating the same drum for FNAF Movie 2. Yep, I'm sticking to my guns on this one. Now, why do I think Springtrap is making an appearance in the sequel? Well, let's rewind a little bit. The last time we saw William, he was stuck in his Spring Bonnie getup, writhing in pain in the back room while one of those ghostly kiddos closed the door on him. According to the game's lore, it takes about 30 years for this whole withering and possession process to unfold. Fast forward to the opening of Fazbear Fright's attraction, and voila! Well, let's go for a quick detour to set up the sequel's direction. I'm not buying into the idea that the next FNAF movie will be a prequel like the games, and a 30-year time jump feels like a stretch. So my pitch? Let's centre the second movie around Fazbear Frights, almost like a haunted tribute to the tales of the now destroyed pizzeria from the first movie. Sure, we'll have to fast track those 30 years so we can stick with the same characters, but honestly, I'm not too bothered by that. Imagine if we tell the Fazbear Fright story in FNAF Movie 2 and sprinkle in flashbacks to Vanessa and William's story, tying in the prequel aspects from FNAF 2. It would be a narrative move that respects both the lore and the fandom, while pushing the overall story forward. Now about Springtrap, 2 options here. Option 1, we kick off with Springtrap front and centre, making him the key overarching antagonist throughout the sequel. Option 2, we keep him under wraps until the final act, a bit like the first movie did with Spring Bonnie, and then bam, big reveal, Springtrap's alive and causing all the chaos with the new animatronics in the sequel. But let me know which option you prefer down in the comments below. Number 4, Toy Animatronics. Let's talk Toy Animatronics. I'd put my money on those lively toys making a cameo in the FNAF sequel. I mean, the FNAF 2 game is heavily marketed around these new animatronics as the main attractions, so it's only fitting, right? However, the challenge is finding the perfect way to organically weave them into the sequel storyline. But before we jump into brainstorming their involvement, here's a quick refresher. The Toy Animatronics are upgraded versions of the original crew, cooked up by Fazbear Entertainment to replace the withered animatronics for the grand reopening of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in November 1987. They come with enhanced mobility, facial recognition systems, and the ability to stroll around during the daylight hours. Now the tricky part is predicting the sequel's trajectory. If it is a pure prequel, which I don't think it will be, integrating them becomes a tad simpler, but since I've already ruled that out, let's consider a different approach. Instead of relegating them to mere flashbacks, how about we give the Toy Animatronics a complete makeover and redesign? It's safe to say the sequel will likely feature a fresh pizzeria setting, be it a restored pizza place or Fazbear Frights, as mentioned earlier. Now here's the twist. I'm envisioning the Toy Animatronics as toy-sized, not just clean a plastic version of the base animatronics. 2 options here, debut them as miniature animatronics, almost a parody and to represent something you'd spot at an arcade or on a Disney ride. Yes, I'm looking at you, It's a Small World. Alternatively, you set them up as actual toys, perhaps gracing the shelves of the sequel location's gift shop. Why this approach, you ask? Well, it allows for them to be goofy and silly like Gremlins or Chucky, while also allowing them to get away with more murderous mischief because let's face it, they're toys and aren't going to scare younger audience goers as much. We already kind of got a taste of this with Cupcake in the first movie, who was really given the most to do in order to achieve that PG-13 rating. Now my main motivation here is to keep our original animatronics special. Having two versions of the same character on screen simultaneously risks diluting their uniqueness. I mean, they're not going to ditch Freddy, Bonnie, Chica or Foxy, especially after their box office success. These characters are now recognised and have star appeal to a broader audience than just FNAF fans. I get it, messing with the lore might raise some eyebrows, but sometimes a little controversy can lead to the best outcomes. Let's shake things up. Number 87, FlexiSpot. If you ever find yourself working the night shift at Freddy's Pizzeria, the last thing you want to do is fall asleep on the job. I mean, come on Mike, falling asleep with all these dangerous animatronics wandering around? If Fazbear Entertainment wants to increase productivity, they definitely need to invest in some standing desks. And if you ask me, the only option to go with is FlexiSpot. The reason I say that is because the lovely people over at FlexiSpot were kind enough to send us their next generation high adjustable E7 Pro desk. And when they say height adjustable, they mean it. I mean, this desk is truly customizable to suit your standing height. Heck, this might be the only desk on the market that would cater to Circus Baby. She would probably be able to sit on it too, because this desk has a hugely impressive weight capacity of over 160 kilograms. Wait, did I just fat shame Circus Baby? This is FlexiSpot's next generation desk, improving on their already fantastic technology. The E7 Pro debuts a 44mm per second lifting speed, which is faster than both the E7 and E8 desk. The other great thing I love about FlexiSpot's desks is they allow you to program your desk for up to 4 preset heights, available at the touch of a button. And I've got to say, I love the improvements they've made around improving desk management. The magnetic concealed cable management is a huge improvement and really speeds up the installation process. Furthermore, the self-gripping tape and cable clips are going to help me stay on top of my infamously messy wire situation. FlexiSpot is having a mammoth Black Friday sale with up to 50% off. That means you'll be enjoying the lowest prices of the entire year. Furthermore, if you use code FSKOL, you'll get a further 10% off. But here's the deal, if you order the E7 Pro from the 13th of November to November 23rd, you're going to enjoy an exclusive code and priority shipping, making it even cheaper than Black Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't want to miss out on a massive deal, I honestly can't speak highly enough about FlexiSpot. Thanks again to them. Let's get back to the video. Number 3, Circus Baby. In the same way I campaigned for Springtrap to appear in the post-credit scene for the FNAF movie, I'm going to do the same for Circus Baby in FNAF Movie 2. So we've got this intriguing tidbit that a lot of the cast have signed on for free picture deals, and my hope has been lingering on one of these movies delving in to sister location. But it's all about timing, right? Assuming the next movie incorporates bits of both FNAF 2 and FNAF 3, logic points to FNAF 4 influencing the third movie. Now, as much as I'm itching to see the nightmare versions of these animatronics, following a child around their bedroom might not carry a full movie. Sure, I think we'll get a nightmare scene at some point in this franchise, but a whole movie? I'm not sure. Enter Sister Location, a perfect setup for FNAF Movie 3. So here's my bet, we get a hint of this sister location and a tease of Circus Baby in the end credits of FNAF Movie 2. Integrating Circus Baby into the cinematic loreverse opens up a true treasure trove of narrative possibilities. In the game, she's possessed by William Afton's daughter Elizabeth. So here are a couple of scenarios. If Vanessa meets an untimely demise in the sequel, maybe she inherits Circus Baby. Alternatively, as we dive into Vanessa and William's past in FNAF Movie 2 through flashbacks, we might unearth the revelation that Vanessa had a sister named Elizabeth. I mean, come on, there's so much potential here. A post-credit tease for Circus Baby would undoubtedly amp up the excitement for the prequel. I'm practically begging this to happen. Number 2, the puppet. I think if we're being honest with ourselves, out of any animatronic included on this list, the puppet is probably the most likely to show up in the sequel. After all, the first movie teased us in the end credits scene with the cryptic "Come Find Me" audio that overlapped with the puppet's music box song, My Grandfather Clock. When it comes to theories, I'm sure the puppet is going to be at the centre of many leading up to the release of the second movie. Fans have already speculated that perhaps Henry Emily could be involved in the sequel, and he could reveal that his daughter Charlotte is the one who possesses the puppet. I mean, I would much prefer if the movie went down the route of making Garrett the puppet. Although we'd be flipping genders, I think it would work. The puppet marionette is known to be the first victim of William Afton. In the FNAF movie, years back, Mike's younger brother was kidnapped while camping with the family when Mike was 12. The movie takes place in the year 2000 when Mike is speculated to be in his late 20s or early 30s. This would mean the restaurant was still running when Garrett was kidnapped. The restaurant did not shut down yet, and supposedly none of the animatronics were possessed yet. The puppet is speculated to give life to future victims by putting their souls into the animatronics. If Mike's dream took place in the early 1980s, Garrett had to be kidnapped before anything else happened to the other victims. It seems the story has perfectly set up Garrett as the puppet. If the filmmakers wanted to bring the story and the original lore closer together, I wouldn't be opposed to the idea of Garrett, Mike and Abby being Emily's, tying together the whole family story dynamic. Number 1. Mangle. Don't get me wrong, I'm Chica's ride or die fan, but let me tell you, if Mangle struts onto the scene in the sequel, I'm shedding my Chica costume and donning the patriotic white and pinks. I'm seriously stoked about the idea of Mangle making an appearance in the sequel. Maybe even more excited than some of you, who might be raising an eyebrow at it snagging the number 1 spot on this list. Now, before we dive into the potential storylines, let's address the elephant in the room. I think everyone's top reason for wanting Mangle in FNAF Movie 2 is to witness what genius the Jim Henson Company conjures up for the practical puppet. I mean, think about it. A disheveled, mangled animatronic with exposed endoskeleton parts, multiple limbs and 2 heads. That's nightmare fuel right there for the designers. But mark my words, they're gonna nail it, and I'm counting down the days to see their creation. Sticking to the sequel story we have established here today, flashbacks to tell the FNAF 2 game story while pulling in elements from FNAF 3 for the main story. With that said, I'm throwing out the idea that Mangle could be a character appearing in both the past and present. The Springlock scene wowed fans in the first movie, so how about witnessing the bite of 87 in the sequel? If the movie does this, how about the bombshell that Mangle was the culprit behind the infamous bite? Fans would lose their minds. Of course, the only way to further top this scene would be to add Markiplier in it. As we already know, Scott Cawthon would love for him to cameo in the sequel. If you did all of this in one flashback, I'm not sure if fans would be able to contain themselves. But let's not keep Mangle confined to just one flashback. No, I love the idea of bringing Mangle into the main timeline, maybe as another withered antique for the Fazbear Frights attraction. I mean, if this animatronic was responsible for the bite of 87, it adds a whole new layer of intrigue to those in the attraction, not to mention the audience knowing what Mangle is capable of. And that's our list. What did you think of our picks? What animatronics do you want to see in the FNAF sequel? Leave a comment below and let us know. If you're new to the Slurp YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe. This is such a great spot for speculation, theories and breaking news about the FNAF sequel. I've been Connor for Slurp, and I'll see ya in the next one.
Tell me, do you believe in those monsters? I'm talking dreams so big that they'll haunt you, or they'll calm you. That's how you know if you got it going.